Hello and welcome to another video just covering some of the chess detail on the show BBC 2, the Chess Masters The Endgame. This is from episode 2, I believe, where we had in the elimination game, we had Navi versus Cai. So there are going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it on BBC iPlayer. You can also watch the elimination games, I believe, in full. If you search for them within the search function there. So please go and do that. But I spotted an opportunity early on in this game, and I thought it's definitely worth doing a quick video about it because it's such a common one. It's one of the first kind of tricks that you learn in the opening. So if we just go through some of the basics first of all. So this is the most common way to start a game in chess, and usually when people are new and they're just starting to learn how to move the pieces. This happens, but also this happens at Super Grandmaster level as well. But usually we get this knight comes out to attack this pawn, and then this knight comes out to defend this pawn, so therefore it's all defended. And then we get something like bishop to c4, which is the most common move. Everybody learns this stuff when you first start. Black's got many options here. One of the main options is bringing the bishop out. However, one of the more, shall we say, aggressive options is to bring the knight out. And this is called the two knights defense, and there's a lot of variations here, but it's actually a really good move if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then you could be in deep trouble. So for example, here white could break the opening principles rule of moving a piece twice in the opening and play knight to g5. And you see how we have this double attack here on this pawn, and black has to solve that problem. Black ends up sacrificing the pawn but gets some really active play. But we're not going to look at that today though, because the actual trick that I'm going to show you is actually, well, here in this case, black's going to do it on white. We're going to see it from both sides. So here, white brings out their knight. So this knight that black developed was attacking this pawn, and white thinks, well, okay, I'll develop a knight defending that pawn too, which is what happens. However, this is, I don't want to say it's a mistake, because it's probably not going to lose the game most of the time, but it's definitely in the wrong direction. It's a big inaccuracy. In fact, looking at the percentages, actually when I just click on it, actually maybe it is a mistake then, because black seems to do very well here, playing the move that you need to know about. So very often we see people just like bringing their bishop out, getting ready to castle, which makes a lot of sense, and actually if somebody does this when they're new, this would be perfectly fine to play. However, black can play a really sneaky move here, which is knight takes e4. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're taking a pawn with a knight. However, aren't you also giving away a knight? And you are absolutely right. This knight does get taken, which is obviously not a good exchange for black at the moment. However, black now follows up with pawn to d5, forking the bishop and the knight this way. And really, whichever way white chooses to give back the piece, it's going to be pretty positive for black. So usually you want to try and keep hold of your bishop, so bishop d3 is very common, and after pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn, we reach this position. And you know, when you're playing with the black pieces, usually it's the case of, well, if you can get all your pieces out and get castled, and your pieces are on good squares, then you've done very well in the opening. And here we can see that both bishops have got quite a good range of motion. They can develop to many different squares, and then black can get castled. Actually, black could probably castle either way here as well if they wanted to, castle queenside. But I mean, they can also throw this pawn up here at some point, maybe not right away, but maybe after a few moves time when they've got castled, and actually start to really control the centre. And we see that the main thing is that when we look at the central four squares, yes, white's got a bishop in it, but black's got a pawn on one of those central squares. It gives black more space, and it gives black further outposts up the board. So black could eventually put this knight into here or the bishop and use this pawn as a good outpost, whereas white can't really do that. White can only put something onto this square in the centre. So this is a really common trick. Definitely something that you should know about, and you have to know about it. There's lots more variations. So for example, after knight takes e4, some of you might be screaming at the screen going, well, hang on a minute, rather than doing knight takes knight, can white throw in a bit of an intermezzo move here? This is an intermediate move, and actually they can do it. Bishop takes f7 check. And here this forces black to take, and you go, oh great, the king's out in the open, this is exactly what we want. White then takes this knight, and actually material is level now. absolutely, there's dead level. Nobody's winning, but you might think, well, hang on, this king on f7 is out in the open. Surely we can attack it. We can see that one of these knights is actually going to come to this square and give check next. But actually, after d5, attacking the knight, so we'll give check with this one, the king just actually, in this case, tucks back into g8. And actually, it's perfectly safe. h6 is coming next. Black's got 2 pawns in the centre. Black's got the bishop pair. This is everything going well for black here in this position. In fact, looking at the database, I didn't realise that there's 20 games here that I can see from the filters that I've got on, and all 20 have been black wins. Okay, that's from the Masters database, which is says pretty something about this position. Of course, that's at the highest level, and of course, different things will happen depending on the time control and what ratings are played. But this is a fantastic position for black. Just to show you this kind of trick again, one thing that I did see, which I thought was quite interesting, is I saw somebody play here bishop to e2, and I was like, this is at a junior congress, and I was like, oh, that's quite an interesting move. It's not really somewhere where I'd put the bishop. You usually want to put your bishop out here or here, where it's more aggressive and doing more damage, shall we say. But it's quite funny because black players then went bishop c5, and after knight c3 they went knight f6. And then here, hopefully, you can see what white might have played. And the whole idea of putting the bishop on e2 was that now they can do this move. And now white's doing to black what we just saw black doing to white. And this is exactly the same tactic. If they take back with the knight, we play d4 and you regain the piece. And whichever way you regain it, it's going to be positive for you. Of course, they could try and sack their bishop here, but this is an even better version than what we saw beforehand, because you haven't even got control over this square anymore, because the bishop's on it. So after d4, you haven't even got a check. The knight goes back. Let's suppose we just go rook here, and you can actually just self-castle if you wanted to. So this is quite a really nice trick just to look at. I recommend that you play through it, go through it on the websites, and have a look at the opening books just to see what other moves have been played. But this knight takes e5, or as black would do, knight takes e4 idea is really good. Of course, if you're going to play it as black here, the 2 knights defense, then you need to know what to do against knight g5, the fried liver attack. But of course, that's a different video in a different series. But yeah, I thought it was a really interesting opportunity. And if you watch the game on the iPlayer between Navi and Cai, there's actually some really nice tactics later on during it as well. And I think some dodgy endgame play, but I think it was a really good game and really good matchup, and really enjoying the series so far. Any comments or queries, please put them in the chat below, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. But thanks very much. If you like the video, please click a like and click subscribe, and it helps me do more videos too. Thank you. Bye.